Welcome in. It's the Wednesday live chat, this time for the Tour Championship, one of the more unique, at least fantasy events, but events in general, only 30 people, the staggered start. I'm sure we're going to talk through all of that, but this time is yours. So be sure to drop your questions, comments, and concerns in the chat right now. Just real quick housekeeping items. Next week, TBD, but I mean, we're going to be back at it with there's going to be Ryder Cup stuff. The new season starts in like 2 weeks for the Fortinet. I'll be undergoing some massive data updates to the website over the course of the next week to 10 days, which will then trickle into some tool updates. So I've asked for this once, and this is the last call. If you have any suggestions, now's the time. The best way to get them to me is to email me. You can do it through the website, or you can email me at rick@rickrungood.com. That website I'm referring to is this one, my website, rickrungood.com. All things fantasy golf, all things golf betting, giant database, all that fun stuff. All right. I already have Mike's question up here or page ready for it. So Mike says, hey, Rick, what are your thoughts on Nick Taylor to help with some salary cap relief to be more top heavy? Thanks, mate. Well, I worry a little bit about this. Since the win, and he's not the only one, but since the win, this has been a pretty bad run of golf for Nick Taylor. And it's been uncharacteristic, which is probably even more concerning. He is just hemorrhaging strokes off the tee, which he's never been a great driver of the golf ball, but he's been basically around a tour average golfer for a very, very long time. So to see him lose 2.3 small gains and then lose 5 at Olympia Fields is not great. Also, I don't know what happened to the short game, but it's gone. The putter is struggling. This is just not a very good stat profile. I think if you're looking for some salary cap relief, Adam Schenk, Sepp Straka feel like a little bit better. I know it's not a ton of salary cap relief, but I think I like those guys better than I like Nick Taylor. Obviously, your money, not mine, but that's my suggestion. Michael says, Rick, my one and done does play this week. Payouts are just like the last 2 events with no bonus money. I have Glover, Harman, Keegan as my best 3 left. 1 million behind first. Who helps me close that gap? So, Michael, you left out one important detail about whether or not you are using the starting strokes. I believe if you are, and by the way that you are phrasing this, I'm going to say that you are. I had a very difficult time deciding between Glover and Harman. I'm in a similar situation where I had to pick Glover with a 1-shot lead over Harman or Harman. I went with Glover. I just think that you're going to get probably a pretty good tee to green effort. I hope to gain 2 strokes with the putter. He's in a better position to start with. And not that I think there's like this, he has a lot to play for thing, but he has probably a little bit more to play for than Brian Harman, because Brian Harman's on the Ryder Cup team. Lucas Glover could put an extra bit on his resume for Zach Johnson. Matt Gannon says, end of the season, State of the Union for fantasy golf. So I'll probably do something here in the next week or 2 about this. I'll give you the short of it. I was blown away with the amount of people who wanted to play season-long fantasy golf, which I think is really, really good. And there are a lot of similarities to football, the weekly nature of it, but it basically goes all year round, like all of that stuff. There are unique challenges in golf. The cut line, I think, is a unique challenge. The fact that not everyone plays every single week and we're getting kind of 2 separate tours right now is a challenge. I think that a couple of changes that I want to make are probably larger rosters and or less starters. Maybe you start 4 instead of 6. Also, as much as I love a fantasy point-based scoring system, I do not necessarily think it is good for golf, because a guy who has the winner but has 2 missed cuts is almost always going to lose to the guy who got 6 through, and I don't think fantasy golf should be a contest of cut makers. So I think going to money is probably a little bit better there. So there are a couple of tweaks that I want to make, but I was blown away with the amount of people that wanted to play in season 1. Other fantasy formats, DFS seems to be rocking. Jock market seems to be growing hand over fist, and one and done is probably one of the more fastest growing types of contests on the internet. So all in all, I think it's a really good place to be. Hey, Rick, love the channel. Thank you. Given Xander's course history here, do you think that he will be highly owned? Well, we've got the ownership projections rolling in here. So Mike Cavalunas does this for RickRunGood.com. I think he's the best at it. He's very, very good. And he has Xander coming in at 23% projected, or excuse me, 21% projected ownership. It is about well, I can just show you here. Of the top guys, it's about the third most owned, but it is closer to middle of the pack, right? You're seeing a lot of the cheaper guys get some really big ownership numbers like Sepp Straka, Adam Schenk, Terrell Hatton, Jordan Spieth, Sam Burns. Then you get a lot of love at the top for Scotty Scheffler starting at the 10 under mark. So Xander is, though, of the top guys, probably the third most popular golfer that we are going to have this week. Cole says, thinking of starting with two expensive guys, but based on what you've explained, that's not a good idea. Thoughts on having Rory and Hovland? Suggestion on having Burns, Straka, and Schenk with that lineup. So that combination, Burns, Straka, Schenk, as we've kind of just talked about, is going to be incredibly popular. That is what everyone is going to do. I think that having two expensive guys makes sense to an extent. You know, I do think people overreact to this guy is going to start with 30 finishing position points. However, it is possible that one hole into this, he drops to 20 or something like that, right? But the floor is so high. He's not going to get less than like 10 finishing position points, and that's if everything goes horribly. So there is just a built-in floor there. So what I think you want to do is spend up on the top for kind of some of the safer guys. I mean, I actually think like Lucas Glover starting at 5 under par, what's his floor in this, right? Could he drop to 10th? Maybe. Could he get up to second, third? Absolutely. And he is just going completely overlooked at $9,700. So maybe it is one expensive guy, a couple of second tier guys, and then I think we are going to have to differentiate because there are no secrets at the bottom of this board. Emiliano Grillo is, I think, a nice discount. Somebody who is great from tee to green, is having a better putter season. If you want to get away from Sam Burns at 35%, Grillo just as volatile, just as much upside. He's actually probably been playing better golf than Sam Burns. So yeah, I encourage you to get creative. You really don't want to get duped in this thing, especially if you're trying to win all the money. But yeah, we're starting to see a lot of that Adam Schenk, Jordan Spieth, Sam Burns, Sepp Straka builds at the bottom here. Is Scotty top American minus 180 with strokes, not free money? All right, so I'll pull up the matrix for this. So if you missed the show on Monday, I do this every year. I show you the matrix, right? So this is a very, very nerdy way to run the golf tournament in a spreadsheet. And you can say there's a lot of problems with this and all, like whatever, but this is just kind of shows you how likely it is that someone from further back wins. So Scotty Scheffler, American, Lucas Glover, American, Patrick Cantlay. Okay, right. So here's all your Americans, right? So it's Scotty Scheffler within a 5-shot lead to Lucas Glover. What does Lucas Glover have to do to win this? Lucas Glover has to have a 79th percentile performance, which is him gaining 15 strokes to the field, which is a ton, basically winning a full field event, and everyone above him having a average or worse week. Now, he could get there. He could become top American a lot easier if Scotty Scheffler, for whatever reason, goes out and struggles, right? If Scotty Scheffler goes out and struggles, Lucas Glover only needs like a 71st percentile performance, which would be gaining about 12 and a half strokes to the field. So what does that look like? Well, 12 and a half strokes to the field. How often does Lucas Glover do something like that? Did he do it in both of those wins? Maybe. So he did it at the Barbasol. He did it at Detroit Golf Club. He did it at Sedgefield. He did not do it at Southwind, but that's because it was a smaller field. He didn't have to. So he has done this 3 times in the last couple of weeks. That's the path for Lucas Glover. And it's still pretty big, right? It's Lucas Glover, the equivalent of winning a golf tournament, and Scotty Scheffler playing underwhelmingly bad. And that's just the closest guy to get to him. So I think it's a long-winded way of saying Scotty top American is probably pretty free money. Speaking of this, so again, here's the next question about can Lucas Glover hold his position? I have invested in Lucas Glover this week, right? You know, not only in one and done, but I've bet the top 5 number. It was like plus 400, which I thought was wild stuff because he's going to start at 5th and he's playing some of the best golf out there, right? If we go to the power rankings and just look at the last 24 rounds for everybody in this field, Lucas Glover is the second best player in the world, right? Last 24 rounds, getting 2.5 strokes per round. That is insanity. So yes, I believe Lucas Glover. Like I'm buying Glover. I'm buying Harmon. I'm buying Henley at this point. Probably out on Burns and some of those other guys down at the bottom here. Hey Rick, is there an argument to be made that we should wait till after the first round before placing any bets with starting strokes? I'm trying to think about that argument, Mike. So the argument would be, this is basically a 5-round event because they are starting at certain scores. If you get to see them play 1 round, you've seen them play, quote, 2 out of 5 events or 2 out of 5 rounds, which would be 40% of a tournament. I mean, but isn't Vegas isn't, they're going to adjust you, right? So I don't know what we would have more information, but so would Vegas. So I'm not sure although I will say this. Okay. So if we go down that line of thinking, Mike, where we are getting 2 out of 5 rounds of information, at least one of the rounds will be played on the golf course because the one round that has been played right now has not been played on the golf course. So with that, I will say, yeah, I don't have any problem with you waiting. I don't think you're going to get any super secrets or anything like that. Patrick asked the question about the splash contest for this week. This is entirely my fault. We were traveling this week, and I just forgot to make the contest, right? And then by the time I realized, I thought it was like too late. So that this is entirely on me. There is not a splash contest for this week. That's my fault. I have NFL Survivor stuff in there right now. If you want to get into a $15 or $100 one and come play an NFL Survivor, winner take all, but that's on me. So my bad. I'll remember for next time. Hey Rick, similar to Fowler's recent dip, Hatton's play has fallen off the last few weeks. Do you think Hatton is the type of player who's worn out and ready for the season to be over? Well, there's $18 million or 18 million reasons to not be over it. I don't think it's that bad. Right. I know the results have gotten worse. T20, T43, T34. Obviously, the approach play at Olympia Fields was not good. The tee to green play was not good. Outside of that, I do think it is fairly close to his DNA, right? TPC Southwind, the driver was exactly what you'd expect. The approach play was a little weak and the short game was a little weak, but he is circling the wagon here, right? I think this is okay. Fowler's stat profile, I think, is a little bit more concerning. It's kind of pretty different than it's much different than what he was doing during his success. He's driving it much worse. The approach play hasn't been as good. The putter's a lot worse. The short game, the around the green play is a lot worse. So this is a little bit more concerning than the Hatton one is, in my opinion. I'm playing PGA National this weekend. Over under 20 shots to make it through the bear trap. You're a 15-ish handicap. Thoughts on Scotty Scheffler? Yeah, everybody's finding that Scotty Scheffler top American. 20 shots. So it's 2 par 3s, right? It's is it 3-4 and a 3 or 3-5 and a 3? 3-4 and a 3 would be 10. I'm pretty sure that's what the bear trap is. Over. Sorry, Cody. I mean, it's the problem is there's so much water on that stretch, right? So are you going to play for real or are you not? Like, are you just, if you hit one in the water, are you going to go to the drop zone? Or are you going to just drop one up there somewhere, right? If you play legitly, I think if you can get in under 20, you're doing great. Can you discuss previous year's optimal lineups? Okay, so I don't have these handy, but I think the best way to ever do this, if you ever have a question, is I tweet these out a lot, right? So if you just go to Twitter and search RickRunGood Optimal Tour Championship. Yeah, here they are. So last year was $49,000. It was Rory McIlroy, Sung J M, Justin Thomas, Max Homa, Sepp Straka, Tom Hoagie. So based on what I remember, that would have been Rory who made the big move up to, from 4 under to win. So obviously he's going to be in there. Hoagie and Straka were your cheap guys that just moved up the board, right? Tom Hoagie was like the min price. So he moves up the board, $5,000. He gets you 94 points. Sepp Straka, same thing. Homa, same thing. And then you round it out with a couple of middle guys. 2021, 49,800. Ram, Na, Xander, JT, Horschel, Berger. So there's two 5K guys, Berger and Horschel, who both move up. Kevin Na moves up as well. So that's kind of three cheapies, two expensive, and a middle. 2022 was one expensive, well, kind of like three upper, two middle, one cheap. And then 2020, they were like 49,700, 46,600, 46,200 were the top three optimals. It looks like it's a very small sample size, but the one guy from the 5K range who's going to make a move, two guys from just above that, and then like three high upside stars. I don't know if that makes sense. Read last week that J-Day switches irons right after the Byron Nelson win. New deal perhaps, but the approach pre and post is pretty wild. Yeah. So this is also another problem here, right? So since the win, so a lot of guys like since the win have not been that good. And Jason Day has been horrendous. So I don't know how you could conceivably be excited about this other than the fact that he is probably going to be one of the lowest owned golfers on the slate, but there is really not a lot of reason to be excited about a guy who just lost 10 strokes on approach and has lost multiple strokes in like 5 out of 7 and is giving it all away everywhere. That's a lot a bit concerning. Let's be real here. Hey, Rick, the Matrix on the website is the older version. Download Matrix. 2023 Tour Championship. This looks right to me. Does it not? Oh, so you're you're looking at I don't know if you can see this on my screen. It defaults to the final tab. The final tab is from last year. Just click a different tab. Click the last 36 tab or last 24. So yeah, I'm showing you last year. Last year, this is how it ended up finishing. But just click last 36. Sorry, I gave you I gave you, that was not obvious enough. I feel like Jordan Spieth is a must-have in DFS. Well, I don't know about that. So we are seeing him as 32% projected ownership, one of the more highly owned golfers on the slate. Do you have a lot of confidence in his play? Do you have a lot of confidence in his history around this place? So do I have a lot of confidence in his recent play? Well, he's lost strokes on approach in 4 of the last 5. Do I have confidence in his putter? No, he's lost strokes there in 7 out of 10. He's driving it okay, but can get loose with it. Let's look at his East Lake history. Obviously, he won here in 15. But outside of that, it's pretty much a mixed bag for the last 4 years. I don't necessarily see the same thing you do, Corey, that this is a must play. It seems like a pretty popular guy with a lot of question marks, which is a little bit scary. Can we hold our nose and play Taylor Moore? Taylor Moore, I have been generally more bearish on, I think, than most. And boy, yikes. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of problems here with Taylor Moore. Even before this Olympia Field start, my concern was how reliant he has been with the putter, requiring literally 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 strokes gained putting or in the short game to even get you remotely close to a decent finish. You know, if you gain 7.5 strokes putting at Sedgefield, you better finish better than 22nd, which Taylor Moore didn't. This is the stat profile that I would prefer from Taylor Moore, which is the one that got him his win at Copperhead, and he is capable of doing. But we're nowhere near that. And also, he just took one of the best parts of his game and lost 10 strokes ball striking last week. So this is doubly concerning. I do not think I will be able to get in there on Taylor Moore. What is your betting card shaping up like? So caveat, you don't have to bet what I bet. You shouldn't. Bet whatever you want. Do whatever you want. It's your money. It's not my money. So I'm in an interesting spot because I bet before the playoffs, Scotty Scheffler to win the FedEx Cup at plus 480, which immediately dropped to like plus 250. It was a wrong number. It was wrong. So I have that out there. So I have not necessarily felt the need to do much in the with starting strokes market. Will I bet Victor? I've not bet Victor yet, which I bet him every time he tees it up. I am trying to decide if I want to do that with or without starting strokes or both. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So I haven't made any other bets with starting strokes. I have Henley and Harmon for without starting strokes, like 40-1 on each of those. And I have Lucas Glover top 5 with starting strokes for not a small one. Maybe I'm crazy. And then I will have to decide what to do on Victor. I will probably do with strokes at 5.5. What is that? 5? Is he at 5 right now? Let's get the with starting strokes market. He's at 5. So if I have a Victor 5-1 and a Scotty Schauffele effectively 4.8-1, if I get Rory'd, I get Rory'd. If I get Rommed, I get Rommed. I don't really care. So that's probably what I'll end up doing. Last man in, Rainmaker, Schenk, or Straka. I think it might be Schenk. With the staggered stroke, with the staggered format, is it mandatory to grab 2 of the top 4, then get different elsewhere? I don't think it's mandatory, right? You just need to get the winner, right? I mean, there's a really good chance that Scotty Scheffler is nowhere near the optimal lineup this week. If he doesn't win this and he drops down to the 20 finishing position points and he doesn't get nearly as many birdies as everybody else, he's not going to be in the optimal, especially with the price tag that he has. So you just have to get the winner. Now, if Scotty wins, it's probably a different conversation. I think it is more important to get the guys that are going to fly up the board because they're going to make a lot more birdies. They're going to improve their finishing position. That's my thought on this. So I don't think you necessarily need to get 2 of the top 4, but you need to get the winner for sure. Stop sending this, Rahul. The Matrix is an older version. It's not. Sung Jae for winner without starting strokes. So let me pull this up real quick. I emailed this out, and this is a lot more like it's really hard for us to zoom out sometimes and look at a year or 2 years. It's almost impossible for people to do. So what I was doing is I was looking through the tee to green numbers for Scotty Scheffler, and they're disgusting, right? Everybody knows that. But what you'll see here is since the start of 2022, so since the start of last year, Scotty Scheffler is by far the best tee to green player in the world. He's got 6 wins, Rory McIlroy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These are 2 guys, Sung Jae and Colin Morikawa, where these wins are coming. They have the most strokes gained from tee to green without any wins since the start of 2022, and guys below them with a lot of victories. It is hard to be that good from tee to green and not start running into wins, right? If I put up the strokes gained putting guys, you'd see a lot of guys with like 0 wins, 0 wins, 0 wins. It's not the same. So these guys are, and this probably doesn't answer your question, Bryce, but like there is just too much good play for them not to win soon. So I think Sung Jae and Colin Morikawa are that rubber band's ready to snap, right? If I was, if I was consulting these guys, I'd be like, listen, like stay the course. These are all very good. These are all very good positive signs. Hey, Rick, do you find any potential flaws in the way strokes gained statistics are calculated? Of course, there's plenty. Like, first off, let me say this. It is by far the best calculation we have. It is so much better. And this sport, which would be so impossible to do without the cameras and the lasers and all that stuff. But there are absolutely flaws. I mean, the volunteers alone, they're somewhat guessing, right? There are times in which they cannot see where the ball actually lands, and they're just kind of like, oh, and it's close enough. It doesn't matter. I've seen mistakes and have had to email the PGA Tour and get them to correct it, whether one golfer's shot was attributed to another golfer. Now, over time, those are very, very few. They make very, very few mistakes, and over time, it doesn't matter for large sample sizes. The other issue that you run into, especially on the putting greens, every 8-foot putt is treated exactly the same, right? Where if it's straight up the hill, no break, it's the same as a slippery left to right, diabolical little putt. These will eventually be sorted out, right? There'll be a strokes gain version 2, but like it is still by far the best thing that we have, even though there are flaws. Hey, Rick, great year. Thank you. I need the best possible outcome. Homa, Glover, Spieth for 1 and done. Again, assuming your starting strokes, right? So Glover's going to start at 5 under. Homa is going to start at 4. And Spieth is going to start what? Even par? It's really close. It's Glover or Homa. I think in your case, I'd probably take Homa here. Homa's been awesome. I drew the line on Glover over Harmon, but I think I would take Homa there. Do you think getting two of the bottom three guys and then do you think getting two of the top three guys, then bottom four guys will make your lineup different? No, I think that's what everybody's going to do. Trying to hone in on long iron play, see big discrepancies between DG 200 strokes game PGA. I'm not sure I understand that question. I actually don't think it's a question. I think it's a statement. Rocky says, Rick, your preview yesterday from yesterday was stellar. Data will always beat emotion. Fingers crossed, right, Rocky? I hope so, right? I live for the data. I think that as I've talked to more and more to players and things like that, I realize that there is a lot of things that I can't calculate in a spreadsheet that go out there, but I wish I could. For this field in the last 12 months, Rahm is the highest standard deviation for strokes gained total, and Rory is the lowest. Anything to take away from this? Yeah, Rory is incredibly consistent, and Rahm is not. That's the takeaway. With the Saudi money, will this improve golf coverage on television? I'm sick and tired of not being able to see a single shot. JG, I wouldn't really hold my breath, quite honestly. I think that getting rid of or fewer commercials is not high on the priority list, right? Even if sponsors, right? Like even if you have a lot of sponsors, well, how do sponsors get their value? By running commercials during the show, right? I would be a fan of, like, I have a list of things. Like, why is Rolex not sponsoring commercial-free coverage? And in the bottom left-hand corner, the entire time, a running clock of since last commercial, thanks to Rolex, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, run a clock at the bottom. There are smart ways to do this. I do not trust the people in charge, nor do I trust the lack of greed to not be able to say, we'll take this money and we'll sell ad space. Great. I don't buy that. I think that is like the 1000th priority for decision makers. When is Victor coming back on the show? It's weird now, right? I feel bad asking now, right? Like when he came on, we were not as close when he originally came on the show, and now it's like I don't want to bother him, type of deal. Without strokes, Brain says Rory, Gut says Hovland. Who you got without strokes? Rory's been the best. I'll go Rory. Going for fourth straight outright. Nice. Covered that. Are you going to be at East Lake this weekend? No, I wish I was. I thought about it. I've got a couple of trips coming up. I think I'll be at Sea Island for sure. I was just going through credential stuff there. Potentially Fortinet. We're going to do a little vacation here in the off season. So no, I was hoping to, but no. Any advice on how to prep for the women's mid-am going to be caddying? If I were you, I'd start getting into like how soon can you get a yardage book? And if not, get on Google Maps and start rocking and rolling, right? Can you discuss some ownership numbers that have surprised you? Sure. So let me get back to the cheat sheet here. I guess I shouldn't have been. I was actually surprised to see how much everyone was going to the bottom. And maybe I shouldn't have been, right? When you have Burns, Spieth, Hatton, I guess I knew they were going to be popular, but to this extent, and also Straka and Schenk, I guess everyone is just piling up on the top of the board, which is what it looks like. I might have a really, maybe I have the blind spot here, but the Lucas Glover being literally the lowest owned guy on the slate doesn't make any sense. He's the second best player in the world in the last 24 rounds. He's won twice in his last 3 starts. I get it. I'm scared too. I'm scared he just loses 5 strokes putting. but there's not a lot of evidence for that recently. You know, it's almost like you have to treat Lucas Glover like a new player. And if we had less information on Lucas Glover and all we had was the Canadian Open to now, he'd be the most owned guy on the slate by a mile. Maybe I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt too much. Maybe I have a blind spot. This does not make any sense to me. Concerns about Harman being wicked hot with the putter. Yes and no. I mean, yes, he's relying on the putter, but he's always been, right? I don't mind it when that's the guy's weapon. He's one of the best putters on tour. So I don't mind that as much. I do think that he is streakier than a lot of other guys, but he's in the midst of a good streak right now. I'm in on Harman. I don't mind the putter because it's usually his strong suit anyway. I think him and Glover are going to have good weeks. Maybe I'm an idiot. It's possible. Can you run a model on chance that Glover has swamp ass this weekend? 100%. Thoughts on a Hovland Glover lineup build for single? Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty unique based on the numbers that I'm seeing. Hello, Mr. Gehman. Golf Analytics Czar. Thank you. What do you make of the fact that despite Rory's success here last year, this course is bad for long wayward bombers in general? Yep. Agreed. Now, I don't know if you are referring to the course key stats model, which is exactly what that would say, right? The driving distance is not really that important and driving accuracy is. The one thing that I would say about this is, the data in the last 5 years with the staggered start and the fact that we only ever have 30 golfers here, this is not as strong of a model as we could get, right? I will say that about this week. And I was pretty candid about that on Monday, but you're right. I mean, there's just something about this place that Rory's able to figure out, whether it fits the eye, whether it's, I don't know, but you're right. It's kind of weird. You'd think that there are some spots that could get him into a lot of trouble, and he's basically avoided them for 10 years. Hey, Rick, thanks for the content all year long. By the way, we're just like, we're not stopping. I just want to make sure everybody's clear with that, right? There's like an event in 2 weeks, and there will probably be stuff in between now and then. The European tour is running, like the site and the channel will roll on, and a lot of updates are coming. So this is a Glover or Homa one and done. I think I said Homa last time. I think I got to go Homa. Looking at, prize picks, stroke props. Are Xander and Henley too high considering course history? So that would basically be, I'm sharing my whole screen right now, so I do not want to open some things. Hold on. Let me think about this because I just don't want to show the back end, which I think is fair. So the scoring average here historically, and Eastlake's fairly consistent. I feel like that's not even like that's going to be like Xander gaining a half a shot to the field, which is going to be very, very low. Let me just confirm that for a second. I'm going to stay here on the full screen of me. I'm not going to show you everything. Apologies, but you guys get it, I'm sure. Okay, so historic scoring average at Eastlake recently is 6807. Those are too high, right? That if it plays to that is assuming Xander is even to the field and Henley loses a stroke. So yes, those are too high. Okay to go Cantlay over Xander. I'm pretty worried about Cantlay, to be honest with you. It's weird, right? His win here a couple of years ago really covers a lot of bad play at Eastlake. He's never gained strokes putting here. He's lost 21 strokes putting in 20 rounds. Yes, he stripes it. Yes, he has the win. Yes, he has the 7th. But the win was what? Him starting at 10 under. And that was really only thanks to Rahm's WD at the Memorial. So, like, I am not nearly as excited about Cantlay as everybody else. Wondering if you would recommend putting more weight towards the raw metrics or weighted metrics. I think for this week, it doesn't really matter. I think there are other weeks in which you should do weighted. When you have guys who are playing across a lot of different tours, when you have guys that are, like making their first couple of starts or something like that. But we've had basically all these guys playing in PGA Tour events and a lot of similar PGA Tour events recently. I don't necessarily think that it is as critical to use weighted. You can if you want, but I don't think it's as critical. One and done question. If you have all these guys available, you probably messed up. Are you using strokes? If you are using strokes, you should probably use Homa. If I'm understanding that. Curious as to which golfer in the field has the worst stat profile and which golfer has the best that's not playing this week. All right. I mean, Nick Taylor probably has the worst stat profile of anybody playing this week. We covered that earlier. The best profile of anybody not. Let's look. If you go power rankings last 24 rounds, anybody in any field, and let's just for you got to be on the PGA to play on the Tour Championship. Let's just do PGA rounds. It would be Steven Jaeger probably or JT Poston. So let's look at Jaeger's Jaeger's profile is going to be really good. Jaeger's profile is going to be really good, I think. He had that great run. Yeah, I mean, the dude finished with like a bunch of top 20. He finished 20th in Memphis, didn't get in. He finished 14th. I mean, he didn't miss a cut since Heritage. This is like by far the best stat profile of somebody who didn't get in. That's a fun question. I apologize for doubting Victor. Never do that again. How should we adjust our model if we expect extremely firm and fast? So you'd go to the custom model, and what you could do is generally you could just do strokes gained hard. The strokes gained hard, strokes gained, whatever. Honestly, the only way to make it hard for golfers is firm and fast. Yeah, winds can do it as well, but like you could do strokes gained hard, you could do course history, you could do a couple other items. 9th in the tournament last week. Thanks. Good job. Serious question that would have sounded ridiculous less than a year ago. Any plans to use AI to improve the matrix? It's not a ridiculous question. If I had any idea how to do AI or use it or improve the website with it, I would be interested. I have no idea. If somebody wants to help, but they're going to have to do everything, I'm interested in chatting about it, but it'd be cool. I wouldn't even know where to possibly start. You made me a fan of golf again. Appreciate it. Decided to grab a Friday ticket to Eastlake. Sick. Going to walk with Hovland and Schauffele. Yeah, they're going to be sick. Also, I think they are going to regroup after every round, so they would have to still be next to each other in the standings. But either way, you're going to get a bunch of really good options. Best tip for new golfers learning to play this infuriating yet addicting game. Yeah, I mean, like, have fun with it. Like, just making, I don't know where you're at in your journey, Rebecca, but just making solid contact over and over, breaking it down, pitch and putt, even mini golf, Top Golf. There's going to be a bunch of Top Golf spinoffs now. TaylorMade's going to have their own. There's going to be one in Vegas called, I forget what it's called, but they're attaching it to the Stratosphere. They're going to have just like a bunch of these places. Those are really good, right? Just until you're comfortable getting out there, just keep rocking and rolling. I'll go down in flames on Glover with you, Rick. Might be reactions to the possibility he plays in the Ryder Cup, which he deserves on this track. I just like, even the stats. Siwoo or Colin for DK. I'm a Colin guy. I'm new to DFS golf, especially during the playoffs. Is roster construction supposed to look like too high? I mean, that is what everyone's going to do. 2 high-priced golfers, bunch of cheapies, and then one guy in the middle. Rick, remember I told you in the CBS chat last week, take Hovland in both the BMW and Tour Championship. Got a bit like 12-1. We couldn't find a parlay. I remember we could not find a parlay. Shame. But yeah, that's nice. Now that ticket definitely aged well. Wyndham too wild for this course. I think he's a little bit too wild. And also, so I actually showed this as well so this is also another thing. I should put the whole course in here, but there are a couple of spots around Eastlake. This is from my newsletter. Go sign up, rickrungood.com/newsletter, 100% free. There are a couple of spots, this is on 18, where being in the rough is literally like a half a shot worse. This is 18. The difference between being in the right rough on 18 and in the fairway is a half a shot difference from the scoring average. Now, it's not a half shot. It's just like such a big difference. So, you can be effectively wild, but if you find some of these spots around Eastlake, you are cooked. Rick, why doesn't the Golf Channel have a weekly show for fantasy golf? Seems like a no-brainer. You could be a better version of Matthew Berry for football. So I'm basically at the end of the questions anyway, so I'll just kind of chat here. With respect, and I think I've said this before, the Golf Channel seems to have made a lot of mistakes. Not that it's easy. Rights are expensive, all this other stuff, but it feels like the Golf Channel has made a lot of mistakes. And I'll be transparent. There's a lot of stuff that CBS does that I don't agree with, and they pay me, right? Listen, it's okay to be critical of employers or whatever, right? I think it's okay. It's fine. It's America. There's nobody who wants more for the game than I do, right? So the Golf Channel, in my few interactions with the Golf Channel, what I have kind of learned is that, and it might be financial, it might be risk, it might be preference based, but they won't do something new unless it's sold to a sponsor first, is my understanding. And then what happens is now the sponsor is in the hen house, right? And they are now making decisions on direction of the show. So for example, and I think this is what happened with, do you remember a couple of years ago, the Golf Channel did a betcast at Phoenix where it was like a gambling feed, which is a great idea. And it was executed pretty bad. And it was not the host's fault. I thought the hosts were put into a position, or the analysts, I thought they were kind of put in a position to fail. I think the structure didn't make a lot of sense. And it's because they sold it to PointsBet, and then PointsBet had so much in the production of it. It was like a giant PointsBet commercial and just like didn't make any sense and like all that stuff. So instead of producing a show, backing it, growing something really great, and then finding a sponsor, the other way puts you into a pickle. The other thing is, and actually we saw it this week, I've been talking about this for a while. The PGA Tour did a live at the range show today. There should be a live at the range show on every Wednesday. The cameras are already there. Put one person with a microphone out there, show the TrackMan numbers. It's compelling stuff on a day where no one else is competing with you on Wednesday. Anyway, I got a lot more ideas. Rick, incredible year after year. Content year after year. Started 2 years ago. Cool to see you mentioned in the mainstream media and other socials. I'm betting outright with or without strokes. What do you think? Yeah, I like the without strokes, but imagine your golfer, like it's the one time where your goals don't align with the golfer's goals, right? They might not even know where they stand in with the without strokes market, which is kind of weird, but I appreciate it, Don. I think I'm trying to do a good job of like staying true to the Rick Run Good community and brand and like not be a corporate sellout shill. Right. And CBS, like I love my relationship with CBS because they allow me to do that. Like they don't care if I trash them. I mean, maybe they do, but like we all agree that we're all working in the same direction. So yes, it's cool. How much of your Vic Hovland love was fueled purely by analytics, and did any other realizations about how we play counterfeit or boost your intuition? I don't even know. I mean, like I don't love the guy. I mean, I respect the guy, right? I consider him a friend. I love the way he looks at analytics, but I don't think he's a nice guy. Like, I don't think it's anything like that. But I do like that he looks at a golf course. He and Shay Knight look at a golf course over its entirety, right? You see him play down a lot of opposite fairways. You see him do a lot of things that are very, very unique, but he's a normal guy who happens to be one of the best players in the world. He's awesome. Are you able to touch on some of the plans, changes you plan to make on Rick Run Good? So a lot of the immediate stuff right now will be data. Basically, what I've broken it down to is, every single shot and then rebuilding the database back up. So long story short, when you get data from the tours, it's not always broken down. Some stuff's like just for the season, some stuff's just for the event, some stuff's just for the round. When you break it down to every single shot, which is obviously millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of data points, but you calculate everything yourself, you can now have everything on a per shot basis, and it's way more accurate and it's way more actionable and it's way more interesting. So that has been going on behind the scenes, and then hoping to kind of inject that. And then the goal is always make the tools better, make it more user-friendly, inject more data without it being overwhelming. How much data, how much tools, how much information can I provide, but still not have it like it's drinking out of a fire hose, right? That's kind of the goal. What do we think of Matt Fitzpatrick this week with strokes? Came here a little late, so might have missed it. No, we haven't talked at all about Matt Fitzpatrick. I want to believe, right? Because when Fitzpatrick is at his best and healthy, he's to me, he's one of the best players in the world. Now, we haven't seen a lot of that. He started the year with a neck injury. He got healthy and played well in the middle, and it's kind of faded off a little bit. I do worry that he gained a lot with the putter last week, that he drove it better, but still not very well. I am like a 4.8 out of 10 on Matt Fitzpatrick. If 5 is like average, slightly below average in terms of my excitement level. I hope I'm wrong, but that's kind of the way I feel. Yeah. Are your tournament simulator win projections factoring in the handicapped starting strokes? Okay. Kelly, kind of hate to do this to you. Hold on a second. Kind of hate to do this to you, Kelly. But there is a giant red box at the top that says the simulation below is based on no starting strokes. So I'm sorry about that. It's all good. I've missed big flashing signs like that before. No, it's all good. Rick, as you have grown in popularity, was more curious if you get a lot of people who recognize you out and about. Do you have a unique story at all running into a super fan or anything? I get, it happens somewhat frequently in Vegas when I'm in Vegas. Vegas is a very small place. I know I think that people think it's this huge place. It's really not. The Valley is very small. People who live here know each other a lot. It's a very small community. And when people come here and like, I'm going to be at Circa, I'm going to be whatever, like people will say something. We had somebody come up to us at dinner the other night and say hi. Like, just like that happens a lot more in Vegas or at golf tournaments, obviously. The most unique thing is that like 5 years ago, we were so my buddy he actually got married on Maui, right? Kind of right at Kapalua, and we were in Lahaina a lot. And we just got in and we went to the beach. They were hanging out at the beach and we were meeting everybody in the bridal party, and we're meeting a lot of new people. And as we were kind of walking away, this guy beelines for us and he's like, "Oh, hey, Rick." And I'm like, "Oh, like this is going to be somebody from like the bridal party or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, Rick Run Good." I'm like, "Yeah. Like, what do you?" And he's like, "Oh, huge fan, blah, 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 blah." And it was funny because like, then I went like 4 more years without anyone ever approaching me ever again. And it was in this moment where I was meeting a lot. I don't know. It was just kind of interesting. If you were to pick one player to hit a hole-in-one, who would it be and why? Well, Victor Hovland and Corey Connors make a hole-in-one like every single week. Golf Channel hires you. What is your first change? If Golf Channel hired me, I can do anything I want. You need to show more golf. I know that's crazy, but right now, Tour Championship Week, they should be showing 2022, 2021, 2000, 2020, 2019, 2018. They should be doing the, condensed rounds. They should be doing moments from these events. Get people ready for what they are about to see, right? I would then produce a lot of low cost, high upside content. Live at the range shows are low cost, high upside, right? Your cameras are there. You have someone with a microphone. You don't have to have someone talk the entire time. Just open it up like those F1 pregame shows. It doesn't even have to be nearly as chaotic. Low cost. You get to be the only one in the market on a Wednesday showing something. You dominate that market, and people who are passionate about the game, who's on the range, what club choices are they making, how are they feeling? People like us are all tuning into it. Okay. I would hire somebody to be on the beat of like equipment changes, injury news, all this information that like never gets out until the tournament starts. We're going to have somebody on the beat. And that's even before we get into like fantasy and betting specific content. Like get the like garbage instruction off. Get like there's so much garbage on that channel. All right. Do you like Hovland and Xander or Hovland and Rory? Probably Hovland and Rory. Too much data is a losing proposition. Create a system with an edge and grind it out. If that's not your style, just play the lottery. I don't remember what that was in regards to. I feel like this week is just like NASCAR, trying to predict placement position. Yep. Changes for sight, my friend. You bow to no one. You cannot improve on perfection. Appreciate that. I can. It's not perfect. Have we ever thought about taking the starting strokes and have this 30th player event start from scratch? It would be amazing. What I would like to do is have the entire playoffs be one thing, 216 holes. So go to Memphis. So top 70 start, everybody's at even par. Okay. If you are in the top 50, you get to move on, but everyone keeps their strokes. Then you play the BMW Championship. And if you were in the top 30, you move on, everyone keeps your strokes. Then you play the Tour Championship. Just keep adding it up. That's what I want. Let the cream rise to the top. Everybody technically has a chance, but over 216 holes, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Victor Hovland are going to win. Hey, Rick, love the content as always. Thoughts on Sung Jae this week? Talked about him a little bit. I think the win's coming. It's too good not to. Where on season-long fan tracks does it speak to payouts? So I'll do the payouts thing. And one, mostly just like, trust me. But here's the information for all the payouts. The one and done payouts have been initiated. League Safe requires a vote on them or 7 days. So they will process within like 5 more days. So one and done stuff has already been submitted. If you were in a Fantrax league with me as the commissioner and you sent your money to me, all of that has been distributed 50% to first place, 32% to second place, 18% to third place, depending on your buy-in level. If you were in a league that I commissioned, but you sent your money to Fantrax treasurer, that the season for them does not technically end until the 24th, which is tomorrow. So starting tomorrow, I can start allocating the Fantrax treasurer money, which will be allocated in the same way, 50, 32, 18. That money will go into like your Fantrax treasurer account or whatever. I have no control over it. And then you probably just get it back out to your bank account or your credit card or however you paid in the first place. That is the update. Everything is in motion. I hope that in the next 5 to 7 days, everything is completely settled and we are all good. Thank you for your patience. All right. I think that'll do it. I appreciate it. There was a lot more people in here than I was expecting because I didn't think people were super hyped about this event, but I'm glad you guys could tune in. There is one more show this week. It is the Jock Market Power Hour tonight, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. Rick Run Good YouTube channel. Joe and Idonia and myself will go through this field like a stock market with golfers as stocks. But appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to head out and eat some lunch now. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you guys soon.